Have you ever questioned why society is changing so rapidly? Are you searching for the reasons why? Join us on the Rise Radio podcast for a journey of discovery as we wrestle with the latest social narratives, belief systems, ancient prophecies, strange phenomena, and spirituality. Your worldview will never be the same again. Rise above the noise. Visit riseradio.net today.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first Rise Radio podcast episode of 2026. Wow. Sometimes I just sort of see the years going by and how fast things seem to be moving, like world events. And we're just talking to Joshua, who is an American expat living in Taiwan. And this is interesting because there's been a lot of discussion about Taiwan and world events recently, so we thought we'd get him on the show. Joshua is an English teacher out there, and he agreed to join us today to discuss from his perspective on the ground in Taiwan what he sees going on. Welcome to the show, Joshua.
Thank you, David. This is a great honor. I really like your show, and I feel honored to be here.
Just firstly, as I said in the introduction of this episode, things seem to be going so fast right now in terms of world events. Would you agree with that?
Of course. It seems like the last 10 years, things have been going like crazy. The world that I grew up in, North Carolina, seems to be long gone. Recently here, I mean, I've been living here for the past, it's coming up on 20 years. I've lived here, and I've gotten used to the people. There's not much to get used to. The main thing is to get used to the language, but the people are here are super friendly, willing to do anything for you. This past 5 years, I have noticed that, China, almost every year, it's not every year, but they will do a drill on their coast and point guns towards our area. I've seen that. And that first year, I was quite worried. I was really freaking out because there was videos of tanks being transported to the coast, rocket launchers. I was like, this is going to be the end. But nothing happened. And then the next year, planes fly around Taiwan. It makes the news. My family calls me and wonders if I'm okay. But I guess this year they're mainly focusing on the Air Force and Navy. One thing you have to keep focus on is the news is in the business of trying to get you to continue to watch. If there's a big boogeyman out there, then you're not going to turn off the TV, are you? The objective way to look at it, fear also sells military equipment. And I just looked up yesterday that last year, Taiwan approved a spending bill of over $11 billion on American military defense equipment. Wow. And they probably wouldn't do that if everybody wasn't in fear,
Did you see because the recent drill I saw reported was it maybe like a week or two ago? Did you see?
Right.
Did you say you saw that going on in front of you?
No. Just about everybody on the coast, or I'm living in the center area, the mountains, and we don't see any action at all. But I do have some Telegram channels that will give me some inside China kind of news, and sometimes we'll show what's going on over there. And so I don't usually try to get my news from one source, so I look all over the place. But yeah.
Do you think there is a legitimate threat from China towards Taiwan right now?
Well, that's a good question. There's two ways to think of this. What's good for China is not to take over Taiwan. If you look at it objectively, you're going to think that the rest of the world is going to be angry with China. They're going to say that they're stepping out of line and it'll hurt their trade. Everything is kind of negative on that part. The only wild card is Xi Jinping or any other leader that's next. If they want to stay in power or they're worried about somebody taking away their power, they may do something crazy. And like any world leader, war is a kind of useful tool to get your population to focus their resources, their everything in one direction. They're united. I mean, I have heard of some splits in China about Xi Jinping. Some of the banks are collapsing, and I've heard for years, but everything seems to be slightly okay. My wife, she has some family in China, and I have visited there before, and they have some business with the government. And recently they are saying that they don't want to do business with the government because they have problems getting the money for the jobs that they finish. So they finish a job and then the government doesn't pay them. So they're like, well, we'll just do something else. And that's how they're going to survive. But is the government going to collapse? I don't know over there. But Taiwan has an SOP. If China decides to attack, all of TSMC, that's the major semiconductor company, they have an SOP that they're going to destroy all of the equipment so that China doesn't get their equipment and secrets. So that's one way to look at that.
Yeah, we also see what appears to be at least a bit of a shift in terms of the quote world order, right? A lot of pieces have been moving recently. Do you think that this could potentially have any impact on this dynamic between China and Taiwan when you've got all these? I mean, even this year in 2026, there's just been so many surprises already in terms of that.
You've got questions and I got questions too. I've been watching what's going on in Venezuela, and I'm thinking, well, is that going to make it okay for Xi Jinping to say, well, if you're going to take over one country, what's so bad about me coming over? So one way it does make me a little bit nervous, but I mean, as your world perspective is, you're probably a little bit worried, but you know everything's in God's hands. So I do have that to fall on.
Yeah, that's always good to remember, isn't it? Because sometimes you can feel yourself feeling that worry, and then you remember actually, you know, God is sovereign over everything, and it'll all go according to
There's always hope.
Yeah. So, but just in terms of that, are you saying that because of what happened in Venezuela, for example, the idea of just sudden incursions could be more normalized over time? Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's my concern, but it's hard to say what is in the future, of course.
With you being out there in Taiwan, what's the climate actually like with people around you? Do people talk about this a lot?
The normal society of Taiwan is kind of reserved in sharing their opinions and things. So it's a little bit different than America or England in that sense. The island is kind of split on their view of Taiwan and China. Most of the people that were here early in the history of Taiwan came from China, and that was about 18 tribes of Aboriginal people. And then the Qin dynasty pushed the tribes into the mountains. Then the people from Holland came to start trading in Asia. And then after they left, Japan came. This history is kind of oversimplified. There's some details there. And after Japan left, then Chiang Kai-shek, he's the guy that was leading the rebellion against the communists in the Chinese Civil War. He moved to the south and then jumped to Taiwan. So that he came with about 1 to 2 million people. And I say all of this to show that there is a large part of the population that has direct ties with China. They have maybe an ancestor they do know lives in China, or they have, family lineage that comes from China. I think they think of China as like a cousin. There is some similarity with American England, but it's a little bit different.
Or maybe Ukraine, I was thinking as well. There's a bit of that there, right? Where you've got people
Right.
family and
That
ancestors
is
in
similar.
Russia.
That is very similar. Yeah. I didn't think of that.
If China was to come up against Taiwan and try that, do you think that the Taiwanese government ready to fight back, and I guess they're hoping for America's help?
Well, yeah, I don't think we would maybe survive. I don't know how long Taiwan could really hold off the Chinese. I mean, we would probably get some help from Japan, Australia, the Philippines, and USA in some kind of way. Okay, Mama. Sorry.
That's all right. In terms of right now, do Christians have freedom in Taiwan?
Yeah, there's a lot of freedom here for Christians. I mean, the percentage of population is only about 5% Christian, but the majority is Taoist and Buddhist. Small town that I grew up in North Carolina, there was probably 25 churches in my small town and maybe one Buddhist temple, but it's the other way around. There's about 25 temples here in Taiwan and maybe one church. The perspective for Buddhist is kind of like everybody worships their own kind of God, and there's many ways to God kind of idea. And so if I'm a little bit different with my Christian belief, they're kind of okay with it, as long as I don't try and push it on them, and then they may get offended. But they're actually not very easily offended people. I mean, when I first came here, I wasn't sure. There's kind of one time that I went to a Buddhist temple with my father-in-law because he was Buddhist at the time. And the celebration, everybody was supposed to bring some food to give to their God as an offering. And after they do that, then they lay down these stones. If they're both pointing up or pointing down, that means yes. Or if some are up and down, that means no. So they ask the God a question, and they kept on getting the wrong answer, and they're just not getting clear answer. But I was standing around there. I was like, well, maybe I should leave. I don't want to have anybody say, well, the God is not happy because of you. And so I just kind of left.
You're free to disagree, but just they might take offense if you try to evangelize, type of thing.
Yeah. Where I grew up in North Carolina is the Bible Belt, and you've got everybody wants to evangelize to everybody, it seems. The churches here in Taiwan are not really big on evangelizing. They're kind of into spiritual battles, and we should stay strong together and those kinds of things. But for me, I'm kind of watching the times and looking where we are in the end times. Sometimes I'm very interested in prophecy, but it seems like the churches around here, they're not looking at what's going on in the world and saying, wow, it seems like the beast system is, slowly approaching. Wow, Israel's close to getting a third temple. But most of the churches around here are, I don't know, they're just blind to whatever's going on outside Taiwan in some ways.
So do you feel, as someone who researches some of these things online, and you've been paying attention to the last few years. Do you feel a bit isolated in who you can discuss these things with out there?
I do listen to as much Christian stuff as I can just on the internet, YouTube and things of that sort. It seems, well, I am more on the, I don't know how your theology is, but I'm more on the dispensational side. And it seems like I'm an anomaly here in Taiwan. And it is kind of spiritually a little bit lonely, but I have my wife and she's on the same level spiritually, and I don't know how I would handle it. I mean, I was here during COVID-19 and everything that I wanted to do and stay strong in our belief and faith, and she was always right there with me. I don't think I could deal with somebody not being on the same line with me.
Yeah, and that's it's a great thing by the sounds of it that you have that fellowshipping company at least in your home.
Yes, no, I always feel like wherever I am, wherever my home is, that's my hometown. Or that some people ask me, you've been living there in Taiwan a long time, and I always have to say where my heart is, that's where my home is. And
yeah, I could understand that.
Yeah.
I think for me as well, when you travel a lot, it kind of changes you, doesn't it, in that sense? And
you're right.
I guess
it widens your perspective.
Yeah. I traveled in Europe and Israel and myself and America and different places, and it really does give you a different perspective on the world, doesn't it, when you kind of see how different people live, and it kind of brings you out of your own bubble from growing up where you did.
Well, especially as an American, Americans are very well known to live in their own bubble. We are the center of the world.
Yeah, so we'll go for about 10 more minutes on this episode. I just wanted to ask you, in terms of America and world events now in 2026, with already so much unfolding in just a short time this year, where do you kind of see your homeland in the times we live in and the future?
It doesn't look so good for America. I have been thinking that the economy is going to go pretty soon. The things that have been going on with America, I don't know that it will be able to carry on much longer. And the same goes on for parts of Europe. Things are going more towards chaos and less towards order. I'm kind of a visual kind of person because I do have an artistic talent also. And the way I have been viewing things recently, I've been thinking of, like, you have two magnets that are on opposite side, and in the middle are regular magnets scattered around. As these two stronger magnets get closer and closer, they are pulling everybody to opposite sides. And it seems like what used to be a unified kind of country has been tearing apart. And Donald Trump is not any person to unite. He's a very dividing kind of person. And it's difficult to see the path, but I think the hope that I would give everybody who lives there is to hold on strongly to the Word of God. We are living in quite a crazy time where, I mean, COVID-19 era was one time that we could say that it was definitely a dividing time. And the Word of God will keep us solid in the rocking ocean. It will be like an anchor and hold us steady. And if we're steady, then we have an internal peace that'll help us no matter what kind of tribulation we go through. I think we, as Americans, have had a pride that has, pride is not a good thing. America has had a very strong pride for way too long. And as you know, it's quite an ugly fall. But in terms of Taiwan, I think Taiwan will survive no matter what happens in the future. There's strong people here, and I don't know what else to say.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's very insightful and very heartfelt as well. And I think I would ask you, on the flip side, what are your hopes for the believers in America, and especially America, but all over the world, in these times of chaos and confusion, as you said? What are your hopes for those that do cling on to the Word of God?
Pray, pray, pray. I think whenever we have a constant dialogue with God, we can go through anything. You get a closer relationship when you're talking to somebody. And some people, they feel like I'm talking to the air. I'm not really talking to anybody. And it seems like God is far away. If you do it daily and you keep on asking for things and you keep on asking for peace about certain things, and then you see evidence of those things in your life, it creates peace in your heart. And fear is, I don't like to use bad words, but fear is a bad thing. And Satan can use that for manipulating people to do things that they normally wouldn't do. And we saw that in COVID-19 situations all over. But if we remain closer to God in prayer and relying on His wisdom in the Bible, I think we can all persevere through no matter what bad stuff happens in the future.
I think that is something that I've experienced when I was in a really bad situation. I mentioned it in a video a few weeks ago, and when everything around you, there's nothing left to trust in right in front of you in terms of the events or the situation or the trials, you can't find peace in anything around us. It was in that moment that I just had such a strong awareness of the strength that God gives us and the grace that God gives us in our time of need. And so I suppose that I would echo what you're saying there, is that one thing I do know and have learnt from that is that if things get really tough, we know that God is faithful and He will provide us with that, in the correct measure that for what we need at the time. And there is some real peace and rest in knowing that. And it definitely kind of helps you to understand that whatever happens in the future, God is in control and He will be there for us. So that definitely helps the fear.
Yes, it does. I mean, one thing that is a necessary ingredient for increasing your faith, it's humility. And you can't really say that I'm going to get through this tough time all on my own. You really have to humble yourself and say, I cannot do this on my own. I have to have you, Lord. I have to lean on you. And he will definitely show His power if you do that.
Yeah, in our weakness He is strong.
Right.
And yeah, that's the opposite way round to the way the world would see it, isn't it?
Right. It's very counterintuitive. It seems very strange to this world now.
Yeah, so that the power of Christ may rest on us. And I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes it is a real battle, isn't it? In terms of the struggle of the old man and against the Spirit of God, that, we're so prone to these things. And I've definitely been prone to fear in the past. I've been prone to frustration, and it's a real war that I've been through in my own Christian life against the flesh and against the sinful nature, that journey of sanctification.
Frustration is a difficult one, because you're most of the frustration that a person gets is because you want to control the outcome of everything, and you get disappointed with the outcome. You really do have to kind of let go of things and give it to God. It's easy to say, but difficult to do. For sure.
Yeah, and also loving your enemy is a difficult one
Yeah. Definitely.
Yes. So, well, it's a real honor and privilege to even be saved in the first place, and so undeserved.
Of course,
yeah, it's incredible to be alive at this time as well, to see these things unfold. And I'll just ask you lastly, you've been a Christian for a while, and do you think that seeing the events unfold and also the spiritual battle with the rise of this like Luciferian New Age propaganda, do you think that's been a helpful thing for your faith in these times?
Well, I mean, part of that is what kind of opened my eyes to the Bible being true in the first place. I mean, I grew up as a New Age kid. My family was very New Agey, and we didn't believe in hell. We didn't, whatever you wanted to believe, that was okay. And then I met my wife, and I wanted to spend more time with her. We were just dating, and she was a Christian going to a Baptist church, and I was like, well, if I want to spend more time with her, I'll just go to church with her, and I'll just be fine with it. And the pastor started talking about prophecy and how there were so many prophecies just leading up to Jesus. And how was it even possible that all of those prophecies came true through Christ just by chance? It had to prove that the Bible was really, truly the Word of God. And I still think about those things when I see current events, or the third temple being built, or those kinds of things. I know that my faith is in the truth. I mean, because what else could it be? I mean, but I think a logical person would actually come to the conclusion that the Word of God has so many prophecies that have come true, will come true, and seem to be coming true. It only strengthens my faith to see events like this going on.
Thank you so much, Joshua. I really appreciate you coming on today. It's been very insightful. Pleasure. Yeah. And just to offer you encouragement with your faith out there in Taiwan. And I hope you do find maybe one or two others even who are on the same page as you. And, and I just hope that...
I recently have. So things are looking better recently.
Oh, good.
I have a nice church that I'm going to. So.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, so all the best for you out there, and I hope that things continue to go well for you, and also for Taiwan. This current trajectory doesn't go anywhere that's becomes too difficult for you folks. But as you were saying, even if it does, we know that God is in control and He's with us through whatever unfolds. Amen. Yeah,
that's right.
Well, I'm going to finish. Yeah, God bless you too. I'll finish this episode with a song from Shapes and Shadows, who we've played on here before. They sent a few songs in to us, and it's our pleasure to play it. This one is called Overexposure, and it just reminds us the things that so many, especially young people, are exposed to in this world today. It's sometimes so much for our mind to take, and it's just a song about the effects of that. This is Overexposure by Shapes and Shadows.
You're listening to Rise Radio. Rise Radio. It seeps in slowly, calling our name. It comes and goes between the lines. It creeps in softly, calling our name. It ebbs and flows inside out. We've become numb, back and forth. We've all succumbed, caught in the webs of overexposure, bending our will, being overexposed. Here in the fog, our sight is clouded, caught from the dark. It draws us close between the signs. Our light is shrouded, caught from the dark, through highs and lows. Inside out, we've become numb, back and forth. We've all succumbed, caught in the webs of overexposure, bending our will, being overexposed. Clawing through the weeds of overexposure, blending our will, being overexposed. Overexposure, overexposed, overexposed. Caught in the webs of overexposure, bending our will, being overexposed. Clawing through the weeds of overexposure, blending our will, being overexposed. Caught in the webs of overexposure, caught in the webs of overexposure.
Are you searching for a podcast that discusses the most important issues of our day, all from a Christian perspective? Then add Rise Radio to your podcast playlist. Rise Radio explores topics that are shaping our world: philosophies, social narratives, belief systems, prophecies, strange phenomena, as well as spirituality. No topic is off limits. Rise Radio is about sharing the good news of Jesus Christ across the planet. Listen now on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, Buzzsprout, and wherever you get your podcast. Rise above the noise. Discover the truth. Tune into Rise Radio on your favorite podcast player right now.